This is Desert Homestead Prepping. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. We wanted to tell you guys the reasons why we decided to give up all the comforts and everything that we have back in town to come and live out here on this homestead, to build this homestead. And, we both have a few different reasons that go into why each one of us personally want to make the sacrifice to come out here. So we thought we would go over those, and we thought we would go over that and share those reasons with you guys.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and start it off. And when he asked me that, I said, well, I had to think about it. The reasons why moving out here. And I think the number one reason, even when we were coming out here part-time and working, I was just always so excited to come out here because I just find the peacefulness of it. So we live in town. We live a couple blocks from a 7-Eleven gas station, a couple blocks from the major grocery store in town, and we live on one of the main streets, actually. The post office is on our street. The liquor store is on our street. The grocery store. So everything is like a few blocks away from our home. So the peacefulness out here, it just, when you get out here and just not having like the hustle and the bustle of the cars and dogs barking and people walking their animals down the sidewalk of our front yard, right? Like I said, we live right in town. So a lot of people, we have a camera in our home back in town, and our phones are always going off. People are walking by our house, going here and there, and like I said, 7-Eleven, grocery store. We live on a very busy street.
Yes.
So the peacefulness of not having like the hum of, I don't know, I feel like the lights and
the electricity or the it's hard to explain because there's a tenseness, like a feeling of stress just being there. It's just so weird.
Yeah, so I just feel like the peacefulness, and it was always, even when I was there and we were just coming out here part-time, I was like, hey, like mentally preparing, like when are we going to go out there next? And even though my life out here is super busy with animals and whatnot, like gathering wood and the things, it's a different kind of, it's still peaceful. It's a lot more peaceful than back home.
Yeah.
So I would say, number one for me, the peace of being out here and just looking at the mountains and looking at everything we have out here and just the calmness of it all. I always looked forward to it coming out here, even before we moved out here. So.
Yep, I agree with that. That's a very good reason. So one of the reasons why I wanted to come and build a homestead out here was to be able to produce our own food. I've always been concerned about processed food and all the stuff that we get out of the supermarkets. Who knows what's put in our meat, hormones, antibiotics, and all those kind of things. I mean, the vegetables and everything is covered in insecticides and chemicals. So we wanted to be able to get to a point where we could produce our own food. And we're not to the point yet where we have livestock or...
we don't even have a garden yet.
We don't even have a garden yet. I mean, we will this next year.
Yeah.
But, we also... but we do have clean water. And that's one of the main things that I love about our well, is it's fresh. There's no chemicals, chlorine, fluoride, or anything that's put into our water. It is all fresh, right out of the ground. It tastes wonderful. I love the water out here. So that's one big reason why I wanted to build a homestead. To give up everything that we have back in town and put all the effort into building this place.
And I think my number two reason really is the freedom I have out here. back home, you go in the front yard and I'm working in the garden or, flower beds or whatever. Again, there's people walking by, neighbors are outside. Just, it's like, I feel like all the eyes are watching on you. And we live in a really small lot. We have like a quarter of an acre lot back home. So very, very small lot in the middle of the city. So there's not like really much freedom to do the things that you want to do without people, looking in and like seeing what you're doing. Out here, I mean, no one can see what I'm doing if I'm outside, whether I'm in my pajamas. I brushed my hair that day. Like, it is the freedom of just enjoying walking outside and doing things, able to build things. So it's really nice to have neighbors back home. But again, you don't have that freedom that you would here if you wanted to, say, build something. We don't have a big space to expand our garden. Our garden is very teeny.
Not only the space, but city restrictions.
Yeah. The restrictions that we have, what we want to do, like, again, like, you can't have roosters.
Can't have a rooster
in the city. There's just certain things that you
can't have livestock in the city. Doesn't matter how big your yard is. I mean, there's restrictions. I mean, you can't build the way that you want to build. I mean, it's very restrictive, and that's a very difficult aspect of city life.
So we have a lot more freedoms out here on our 10 acres that we have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I also would segue into that with the freedom to just hop on the four-wheeler and go. I mean, the freedom to allow my daughter to drive the car around.
Yeah.
Here in the back streets and all that stuff.
And it's really crazy because the more, like, we tell people that, my daughter's driving and she's 12, and they are like shocked, like, oh my goodness. But again, like, where we live, it's in the middle of nowhere, and
there's no busy traffic intersections or anything out here.
No.
The pavement doesn't even start for another 7 or 8 miles.
Yeah.
So it is all dirt roads, and that's common out here. I mean, everybody's kids start driving around 10 or so, or whenever they can reach the pedals, to help out on the various ranches and homesteads here in the countryside.
I think we were like 2 months when when Mark, not we, I value my life. When Mark decided we're gonna have Abby drive, so I've done my driving days. I'm over that.
Your teaching days.
I'm too high strung, I guess you could say. At this point in my life to teach children to drive. So I leave that up to him.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess the next aspect for me of why we made the sudden decision to get out of the cities is the moral decline. It is just getting so bad. And we're not even in a big city. Our house is not even in a big city. It's I guess a smaller city in comparison, but still, I mean, the sexual issues going on in school and society being pushed on our children. I mean, the moral decline is very bad. We have concerns about criminal activities in our own neighborhood. That's why we have cameras. I mean, God knows what could happen. You gotta be watching and paying attention. You have to have the security. So it's getting really out of hand, and it's not just the moral decline of other people, but it's that influence on my daughter, and of course it's an influence on yourself as well. I mean, we're Christians, and we believe in the Bible and we follow the Bible, but still we're susceptible to being influenced by the culture. And it's very important, not only for ourselves, but mostly, for our daughter.
Okay, so I guess it's back to my turn. So
Yeah, Penny's turn.
another big reason, it's so crazy the community out here and how close it is. So since there's very few people, the community is extremely close. For Christmas, it was overwhelming, the neighbor gifts that I had received. We got probably 18 neighbor gifts out here. And it wasn't even like big, elaborate things, right? Just stuff that, like a package of chili, I think was one of the things, or a microwave popcorn, like a bag of microwave popcorn. It was nothing big and elaborate, but just to think that so many people included me on their list. And it's like our activities out here. We celebrate July 24th. Here in Utah is recognized as the day we became a state. So every year we celebrate that. And just everything the community has to offer. Like they did a New Year's Eve party for the whole community. It's just a community. So many things is community related. Where, I mean, back home, yes, I know my neighbors next door and across the street. We're friends with them. We have had a couple people move into our neighborhood 2 doors down, and even right directly across the street in the last 3 or 4 months. We haven't even met them yet.
Yeah.
So what that looks like as far as community is concerned, people looking out for one another, it is so valued so much more here. And the closeness where we have a community where people are like, hey, I've got extra eggs. Does anybody need eggs?
The values.
Yeah, and just everything. The values, the connections we have, and like I said, they just do community things so frequently because this is such a, I think if you look up, the kind of community that we live in, the population out here, it says there's 191 people. So you would think that, and where my daughter goes to school, I think there's 30 kids in the whole entire school from 10th grade. They only go to 10th grade, from 10th grade to kindergarten. So that community out here, the closeness of our parents, our teachers, and what that looks like, the bus driver, I mean, it just, everywhere you go, it is go to, just go 7 miles, the post office that we have here in town, the post lady, and it's just like first name basis. Everybody knows everybody. It's just the community and the closeness. I really appreciate it. It's quite different than the city. Everyone, even though everyone seems like, can watch you from your front door if I'm out there gardening, doing my flower beds. But it's a different kind of being in my business kind of thing out here where...
Well, there's just not the values. Those people, we don't have connections with those people. Not like we do out here, where we feel this closeness, this connection, because everybody out here has good traditional conservative family values, which is what we value very much, and they value it here very much and protect it.
Yeah, so I think it's a huge difference. I mean, just living out here and then living back in town. Like I said, not to say that if any of our neighbors will watch this back home, that I love my neighbors back home. There's a few that I'm very close to, and I, talk to, text on a regular basis, which is fine. But for the most part, I mean, I'm not going to know my neighbors 10 miles away. Even just barely being moved here. We haven't even been here a year yet. Like, what, 8 months?
Yeah, we've only been here about 8 months.
Yeah, 8 months.
Full time, anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people reach out to us and they're like, hey, they heard our chickens got killed while we were on vacation. And, hey, we had 3 people offer, hey, we've got extra chickens. Do you need some chickens? Just what that looks like when we moved out here. Hey, we have our cats just had kittens. Do you need, would you like some cats for your household? We do have a lot of mice out here. They such a blessing. But just in that regards, like people see a need or hear about it and fill that need. It's very sweet. It's very nice.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, and I'm very sociable, so that works for me. Reaching out to people and helping people I love to help people as well. So,
yeah. So that's very important to be included in a community and be surrounded by people who are like-minded and have the values or share the values that we have. It's very important. So probably the last and probably the number one reason that we even started this whole thing is to be prepared. To be prepared for the collapse. I've had a strong sense that something is coming, and I think most of our viewers sense it and know that things are not looking good in our country and around the world. It's quite obvious. And so what really started this journey was to be prepared. We needed to have a place for our family, and the only way that we could do that is if we built a homestead, built a place that could sustain us. So that's really a big reason to be able to build a refuge for ourselves and for our families. That's really the main point of every project we have. How is this project going to be built in a way that can sustain us if society collapses? The root cellar, the outdoor kitchen, the garden, the greenhouse, the way that we built our cabin, everything revolves around being prepared. And we also do it both ways. We want it to be functional if we don't have electricity or any kind of fuel in our vehicles, but we also design it in a way where we can enjoy wonderful lights and electricity and all that stuff. So that is probably the number one reason. That's what got me started on this. Many years ago, I saw society was declining rapidly in every aspect. And I was like, I have got to do something for my family. I have an obligation to my wife, to my children, to make sure that they're going to be taken care of. As a husband and a father, that is my primary ministry, my primary obligation. And I couldn't see how we could stay in the city and be prepared for what's coming. So that's it. So those are a few reasons why we decided to give everything up. And we still own all our stuff back in town. Our home, very comfortable. We have a large home and a 2-car garage and all that stuff. It's very comfortable, but we decided it was worth it for these reasons to give up those comforts and come out here in this small little cabin, and we fill our water barrels with water and we have to cut firewood and keep a fire going and all that. Back home is super easy to just simply adjust the thermostat. You turn on the faucet. Everything's just so simple, and that was great. But how are we going to be able to stay in a place like that, if everything falls apart? So those are some of the reasons why we decided that it was very important to make the move, to build this place, and to make the move to come out here and live full time.
All right, so that is basically it in a nutshell, our video for this week. Thanks for joining us in my new shop here on the homestead. Still finding more ribbons, so it's been quite the process. Then trying to create things to take back into town and sell. So, but thanks for joining us.
All right. Yep. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
God bless.